last year we did a school showcase because I work in a place called Studio 72. Every year we have a student showcase. So last year was a big one. It was our 10th anniversary. And of course, after the event, I got some lovely messages from students, and one of them actually said to me, she said, you believe in us more than we believe in ourselves. And I thought that's not just heartfelt, but really touching as well. I appreciate things like that.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Chris Hansen Conversation. And for my tribute show to SG Music Icons, I've got with me a guy that sings, plays lead, rhythm, acoustic, and classical guitar, both the 4 and 5 string bass guitar, piano and synthesizers, composes and writes songs, released an album, wrote a book, conceptualizes scripts and direct films, teach and act. He was even a rediffusion DJ. Can you beat that? For 3 years. Yeah. What didn't he do? The only damn thing I know that is lacking in this guy is hair.
And that's my choice.
Is it really my choice?
Yes.
No way.
I shave every 2 days. Otherwise, it looks like I just got out of the rehab center. I decided to do a radical makeover.
So you went deliberately bald?
Yes.
No, that's new to me, man.
See, what happened was, I've always had my hair down here longer.
Hell yeah.
And stuff. And then when I got headhunted to join the military, I got headhunted to join the SCF in 95. Of course, by then my hair was already quite reasonably short. Then somewhere, I think probably just past 2000, I said, what the heck? I've had it, I want to see what it looks like.
Okay.
So I remember I was with my wife and she wanted to go to the hairdressers and just next door was a barbershop.
Okay.
I said, okay, I'll see you in a little while. Mm-hmm. So I went and I said, I'm going to do it, I'm going to really shave. She said, you've been talking about it, go ahead and do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I went and I told the barber, right, all off. They looked at me like, are you sure? I said, yeah. So they gave me what they call it was supposed to be a zero job,
Yeah. Zero blade.
But it looked more like a number 1. So I came out looking like I just got out of prison. And of course, I walked into the hairdressing salon. My wife was there. She started to laugh. And all of the staff, because they didn't know what I was doing there, and I just looked at them. I said, wash and shave.
My little condom just fell off.
Okay. Thanks. That's how exciting it gets. So I just looked at them, wash and blow. And they, of course, they didn't have a sense of humor. And, we were laughing. Then when I got home and I looked in the mirror, I said, no, it's not what I want. So I actually shaved it myself. So I do it now every 2 days. Some days I get lazy.
Okay. So Mel Ferdinands deliberately shaved his head, not because you were balding.
No, not at all.
So the Mel Ferdinands I remember from a long, long time ago with those locks of hair.
Yeah.
You could still do it, actually.
If I wanted to, I suppose. But been there, done that. So, and you know what I tell you, there's nothing like a wash and wear hairstyle. Literally, you don't have to worry about conditioner.
Yeah, but you got to worry about shaving the stubbles off, man.
It's okay. Get used to it. Like right after your shower, just do sometimes I do what they call a dry shave. You know what I mean? Without the shaving.
Yeah, risking cuts as well, right?
No, if you got a very good razor that has a pivotal head, that's okay. I remember once when I was in Myanmar on holiday with my wife, and I forgot to pack my razor. But
what the hell were you doing in Myanmar, man? Of all places.
Oh, it was we like to go to all the places off the beaten track, right?
That's really not just off the beaten track, man. You get beaten up too, right?
No, I won't go now. This was, I think, 2011 or something.
Okay.
Quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember it was New Year's Eve and I wanted to look spiffy, so I didn't like all the fuzz on my head, right? So I went out and got a disposable, one of those fixed ones.
Oh, dear.
And oh, God, that not only hurt, but, I came out looking like... I'd been in an episode of
WWE.
Worse, they had blood dripping down my whole head and stuff.
Oh my!
Yeah, so I thought, okay, make sure you pack it, or at least just let it grow up.
I'm just wondering what the hell are we doing talking about shaving heads and stuff like that on this show? But Mel, the reason why I've invited you to come on because it's my tribute to you.
Thank you very much,
and thanking you as well. For your contribution to the music business here in Singapore. And as I've said to all the musos and entertainers that I have honored here on this show, on this particular series.
And you're doing a great job doing it, Chris.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that, because as I was about to say, it's because I think musos and entertainers by and large in Singapore are not really very much appreciated or cherished. And I just want to make sure you guys are out there in my own little way to have people just know who you are again.
Much appreciated. Yeah, thank you.
You know?
Yeah.
And I want to start the show this way, which I usually do. And a lot of people find it so hard to really give me a real clear answer. Mm-hmm. Some do, many don't. So let's see what Mel has to say when I ask this question. Just who is Mel Ferdinands?
Oh, good question. I think, yeah. You see, it's always, I've always found that a fascinating question, because what you might think of yourself may not be what other people think of you.
Which is fine.
Or what people see in you. Sometimes, they may see certain merit points which you don't even think about. I would like to think that as a person, I always give my best in everything I do, right? Whatever it may be, whether it be acting, writing, composing, teaching, give the best I can, empathize, feel for the little guy, you know what I mean? And share the passion that I have. Like, I love music, I love singing, I've developed this great love for acting as well. I mean, I've always loved acting, I just never had the opportunity earlier. And the other thing is to be able to give back to society. I always think that whatever you have, whatever gifts you may have, whether you be a star soccer player or musician, singer, whatever have you, it's a gift, that you receive, whether you're religious or not, whether you believe in God or not, it's a gift. And the best gifts need to be shared. You need to share it and give it back. Otherwise, you're just going to waste it.
And how have you been giving back with all the gifts that you've got?
Well, like when I was with Gypsy, or even as a solo artist or with Joe, we do quite as much charity stuff as we can.
Okay.
Help with fundraising. And even to be able to inspire people who want to take up an instrument, for example.
Okay.
Because I've never believed that you are unlearnable. There's no such thing as that. I think if you put your heart to it, you can do anything you want. The only person stopping you yourself.
Yeah.
So I have had students who walked in and, maybe they started out quite late. I have a student well past his 60s, and he always dreamed of playing the guitar, and I'm quite happy to say that now he's doing very well. I have, my youngest student's probably about 8. And it's nice to see the evolution. When they first come in, they play single note lines, happy birthday. Now they're strumming songs and singing, And so to be able to walk through that journey with them, I think is very important, and always being there for them and sharing and encouraging. And I also think last year we did a school showcase, because I work in a place called Studio 72, right? And every year we have a student showcase. So last year was a big one. It was our 10th anniversary, or 2 years ago, rather. 2 years ago was our 10th anniversary, and last year was the 11th year. And, you just see it growing, and there's more students, and everyone's taking part. And of course, after the event, I got some lovely messages from students, and one of them actually said to me, she said, "You believe in us more than we believe in ourselves." And I thought that's not just heartfelt, but really touching as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate things like that. So who I am, I'm just a guy who wants to do what's right.
Okay. And when we talk about your journey into this, your foray into music, let's go way, way back, shall we?
Okay.
First of all, how long have you been doing this?
Sheesh. I started and I started playing the ukulele when I was 5.
So you started with the ukulele.
I started with the ukulele because those days they didn't have mini guitars and all that sort of thing, right? So, and my dad had a ukulele, so we all hijacked it, and I learned how to play it. And because I've got older siblings, so they were like, playing electric guitars and forming their own little bands and stuff. And you're always sitting on the side, like, when can I get a chance to do it? So that inspired me. And then when I was about 9, Joe inherited the ukulele and I took up the guitar.
Because Joe's the youngest.
Joe's the youngest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at 9, we managed to get like a maybe half-size guitar. Right? We bought it from the Chinese Emporium. Right? And you see, again, because it's a small guitar, we can't tune it like a standard guitar. So like, the tunings were a lot higher.
Yeah.
So my top string, the G, what was normally an E string, was tuned to a G. So the chords I was playing was not going to be the same as the chords someone else was playing on a normal size guitar. So, but because I wanted to jam, I used to make all this transpositions in my head. So if someone was playing a chord, I would have to figure out what I would have to play.
And how old were you then when you were doing this?
About 9.
You were thinking transpositions at 9.
Yeah, but at the time I didn't know the word transposition, and I just wanted to jam. You know what I mean? So if they were playing a G, I would have to play an E, for example.
Holy shit! At 9, you were thinking of all these things, and you were.
And yeah, you see, like I said, you didn't think of it as learning or as being taught something. It was just something you needed to do to get through it, and to be able to fit in and jam. Yeah, then, and I suppose, again, because my older brothers and sister, they already had their sort of band going. Joe and I sort of gravitated towards being a duo, And we were very lucky as well. We went to a primary school called Opera, it's a boys' school.
Okay.
Right? We had a very, very good principal, Mr. Tan Moha, the late Mr. Tan. And he was very encouraging when he realized that we could sing and play. He would always say, okay, why don't you guys play for the assembly? And, like, unbeknown to us, and I don't think it was deliberate or anything, maybe we just flew over our heads, but we ended up doing a lot of shows in different schools, right? And then after the end of the show, they presented us with an award, and they said, oh, I didn't know it was a contest. So, yeah, so... And even
so it turned out to be a contest.
Yeah, some were. And then even like when we took part in Talent Time in 1970-71, right? Mm-hmm. It didn't hit, well, at least it didn't hit me how serious it was until they started calling out the names at the end.
You're not kidding me, man. It didn't hit you how serious. SBC.
Yeah, it was RTS.
Oh my God.
Yeah, black and white television.
What year again was that?
70-71.
70-71. Yeah, RTS, correct. RTS. I was just bored, man.
And the finals was in the now defunct National Theatre.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and like I said, because we went through the heats, the quarterfinal, semifinal, it was, sort of fun. And, and then also some of the earlier programs were pre-recorded. So we could sit at home and watch it. Then only the final was live.
Right.
Right. And of course.
And how old were you again then?
I was 12.
So this 12?
Yeah. Joe
in our 9. National Talent Time.
Yeah.
With Joe.
Joe was 9, I was 12.
Just the two of you, duo?
Just the two of us.
Oh, man.
Guitar and ukulele.
Okay. That one I didn't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So then what happened?
So, well, and in those days, I mean, now when I think about it, you have to feel sorry for the contestants because they had 15 contestants and they had 15 prizes. So they called out the 15th.
Right.
And the 15th award goes out to so-and-so. And, and you can see everyone sort of like, oh, gosh, yeah. And then I realized that, hey, they haven't called us up yet. And then as we got towards the top 5, you start holding your breath and oh my God, oh my God. So we came in 4th. My brother Dixie, who took part in that Talent Time with his friend Sam, they were both in the National Service. They came in 3rd. Then I think Kenneth Gomez was 2nd and T.F. Tan was the 1st.
Okay.
Yeah. And there were a lot of other participants who then afterwards turned professional. So, what I thought was great about the whole concept then was that it gave you an opportunity to try your hand at something you love doing. And you were not judged on potential. Oh, this guy's good, but, maybe we should let him win, even though he sang crappily on the night. I think, no, you judge a person on their performance on the evening, on the night.
The merits.
that's the reality of life. You know?
Why are you saying this? You're making it sound as if
No, because I find like a lot of times now.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it's become a popularity contest. People phone in, right? And, when we took part, it was 5 judges there. 5 judges decided.
like the idol competitions, you mean?
Sort of. But even with the idols, there's
The
SMSs
and the texting.
certain element of, voting.
Voting,
and all that.
yeah.
So, again, like I said, it must have been tough for the judges as well. But we always had, real luminaries who were on the judging panel. So there was no argument as to why they were there. We had recording,
Right.
People who were recording artists of that time, and so, and again, like I said, we didn't take part to get famous or get rich or anything like that. In fact, it was quite funny because to a certain extent, we took part on a whim,
Yeah.
because I had a very good friend. And she would always say, hey, let's go, let's do this, let's do that. So she was always helping me fill up forms and stuff. And in fact, that was also one of the reasons why I ended up being one of the one-trap children in the Singapore production of the Sound of
Music.
Yeah.
Oh, you were?
I was Kurt One Trap.
Whoa.
That would have been in 1970 as well.
Oh,
Thereabouts.
wow.
Thereabouts. Victoria Theatre.
So it was our own local production of the Sound Music.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes, and Peter Lowe, who heads the Peter Lowe Choir.
Yeah, Peter Lowe Choir.
He played the role of Rolf, who was the boyfriend,
The boyfriend, the guy that became the brown shirt Nazi.
That's right. Yeah, so we had quite a sterling cast amongst the lead actors, and I was one of the kids.
So just going back to the Talent Time story you just told, if it were you and if you were in charge of things, would you actually have the same Talent Time, the same format with judges without having call-ins and texts and stuff?
Well, I don't know if I'd want to bring it back for one, because first of all, I think everyone's very jaded. There's so many like so many contests and stuff. I actually thought before they had TV, before they had the televised Talent Times, I thought what was a bigger challenge was the radio Talent Times.
Would there such a thing called?
Yes.
Wow, I'm really learning
so
stuff
actually,
now.
Radio Talent Time kicked it all off because first of all, with radio, you cannot judge a person how they look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just listen to this voice, and then after you get a shock when you see the photograph. How can this voice belong to so and so? But that should be the criteria. You know what I mean?
For singing.
Yes, for singing. Okay, granted, there's always going to be a little bit of visuals needed if you go on TV, without a doubt. But I also think now it's gone overboard to a certain extent. I mean, like you look at the latest Eurovision contest where everyone's bending over backwards to be politically correct or, be diverse and all that. I think, look, it's supposed to be a song contest, keep the politics out.
Without worrying about calling out and all that.
Yeah.
Call out culture and stuff.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It should be a case where people come, they listen to music. If the song's good, if the performance is good, they deserve to win. That should be the way. I mean, it should never get caught up with politics or governmental issues and all that.
But Mel, speaking about you, why? Let's talk about influence. You come from a family of musos, right? And talented at that. Yeah, from your brother Dixie to your younger brother Joe, right? And who or what? To be fair, would you attribute your music journey to? The people that or something, it could be something that influenced you.
I suppose the family environment certainly was certainly made a huge impact and played a great role, obviously, because we grew up, like I said, in a very musical family. My mom and dad were very hospitable. We always had friends over.
Were they musicians themselves?
Well,
mom and dad.
Yeah, well, my dad my late father played the accordion, the harmonica, the ukulele. He loved to sing. My mom loves music as well. So we all grew up in a very musical household. And what was interesting as well is like when we were growing up, we had friends over and, there's always jam sessions. One guy who could play the guitar and, it didn't matter if he only knew 3 chords. Everyone had to sing in that key. And then you had someone who actually played spoons. I don't know if you've seen that. You put two spoons together, and you hit them, and you make a little
clip-clop.
That's it. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and like I said, and of course, with the advent of the vinyl, when my dad brought home the first.
Oh, here we go, man. The vinyl story, man. Yeah.
And you play it to death, right? And then now when you think about it, all these things are coming back and they're retro.
Oh, yeah,
That's what we grew up with.
Yeah, it's amazing, Mel. Because have you been to the newest Sweetie Ranch?
No.
I'm like giving you guys free fucking advertising, but never mind. I got to talk about it anyway. Sweetie, the one in Clark Key, the new one.
I've heard about it.
Oh my goodness. They've got a cafe. It's a full-on cafe, right? And of course, they sell the instruments and stuff. They've got a long table where you've got multiple turntables on these tables. You can go buy a coffee or buy a cake, sit there, go to their vinyl library, pick out some stuff you want to play. You've got an entitlement of an hour. You sit there with cans on, put your vinyl on, play, eat your cake, and sip your coffee. And I tell you, to me, right now, it's like, freaking, I'm in heaven. I mean, how else much better can things really get for you? You can sit there and have coffee, your cake, and listen to vinyl.
Yeah, I know. And it's ironic because that was all we had before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And guess what? They're selling cassette tapes.
Yeah.
They're selling cassette players.
We used to grow up on vinyls, and we saw that. Actually, we even had an open reel recorder. Right, which was interesting because they would always snap.
Yeah, the open reel ones.
And we became very good at in doing a bit of repair surgery, splicing it together with Scotch tape and stuff like that. And the same with cassettes. I mean, now if you show a kid a cassette in the pencil, they won't know what.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not being rude, but when your tape gets stuck in the player and it's all
all over the place,
right?
Yeah.
Nothing like a pencil
to roll it back in.
And we even had those little jeweler's screwdrivers to take them out because
yeah.
Just like so it was a good time. I mean, I always joke. I said, when we were kids, we were the remote control for the TV because let's go and change the channel. Okay. We only had 5 channels then. Actually, we started out with 3 or 4.
Channel 5, Channel 8, Channel 3.
Yeah, Channel 3 and
Channel 10.
10, that's right.
Yeah. I still remember that.
And when TV first came out, you only had 4 hours of TV as well.
Yeah.
Or something like that,
Yeah.
And they used to play the national anthem at midnight.
Yeah.
Before they went off.
Yeah. And
actually for the longest time, before we actually went for 24-hour televised program. Content, right? National anthem would come on at 6 o'clock at midnight, and that was it.
Yeah. It still does come on at 6 a.m. every day.
Okay, I'm not
even
up at that.
On radio and on TV.
Okay, I'm not up at 6, so.
No, I'm up at 5:30 in the morning, so I know when I get into my car before 6.
When I do get up at 6, I don't put the radio on. Yeah.
Right. So now that the old vinyl's all coming back, all making a comeback. And as you said earlier on, the students that you teach, and can you tell the audience, all the viewers and listeners, what do you teach?
Okay, I teach guitars, like you mentioned. I teach electric guitar, acoustic guitar from beginner to advanced. And I teach bass, I teach ukulele, I teach keyboards, piano, classical as well as pop, and synthesizer. I teach vocals, so it keeps me busy throughout the day.
Wow. And because why I asked is simply because I actually plan to ask you this at the end of today's shoot. I know that you're very glad to see how these guys have progressed. That 60-plus-year-old you're talking about, So would you encourage anyone to do a mid-career change into music? People who have always wanted to do it?
Well, you see, again, as much as you, myself, or anyone else can encourage them, the bottom line is, how much do they want to do it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you also don't want to be in a situation where you encourage someone and then it flops miserably, or they turn around and say, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have done it. No, I think, if anything, if you ask me for my opinion, whether they should do it or not, I'd rather sit down with them and tell them the pros and cons and what they can expect. and how tough it can be as well. You know what I mean? Because again, it's not plain sailing. In Singapore, as you know, not just for music, but even for dance, for sports, for anything, it's very hard because there seems to be a bias, you know, whether it's unintentional, but there's a bias towards those professions, you know. And sadly, even like, you know, when you come across kids who are very talented, whether it be in sport or in music or whatever, their parents would generally not want to encourage them because, oh, you better get a proper job, you know what I mean?
The term proper job, huh?
Yeah. And you think, well, you know, I suppose they want the best for their kids, but, you know, you also don't want to have a bunch of adults who go through life wondering what if,
Yeah.
you know, hating their current position, but what to do? I did it to make my parents happy, you know? I think those are some of the considerations that you have to take. I would not dissuade someone from doing it, you know? Like I said, you know, I believe that if you have a dream and it's a strong enough dream for you, then it's worth pursuing.
But these are what we would call modern times, would you call it? Parents of today, or even my day as well. I'm not that young. But your day, your folks didn't mind. And apparently the folks of quite a number of the music, except for one, I can remember just one, I will not mention names because parents were against, or two, as a matter of fact. Most of these guys, the folks were seem to be okay. As a matter of fact, they were influential.
You see, again, I suppose when we were growing up, you know, we didn't have as much, like first of all, we didn't have career talks in school. So we had no idea what other careers there were, you know what I mean? I didn't know I could fly an aeroplane or be an astronaut or whatever. But if you grew up in an environment that everyone was comfortable with, and, you know, if you showed a certain affinity, and in those days, I must say, when you know, I was with Gypsy back in the 80s, you know, we actually, the 80s and even the early 90s were very vibrant times in Singapore.
Yeah, man. Music-wise, huh?
Yeah, nothing, you know, I haven't come across anything anywhere that can come very close to that. You know, in those days, you could actually earn not just an honest, but a decent living as well. You know, because, you know, we had contracts, 6-month contracts to a year contract, 6 nights a week. So you were steadily employed.
Right.
You know, it was easy for you to build a following because people knew where you were.
Yeah. They
could go and watch you, whether it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
The new modus operandi of a lot of clubs or even establishments is where, you know, you get a band that plays there once a week. So, okay, I like this band, I go there on a Wednesday, but if I'm not free on a Wednesday, you know.
You don't get a chance to see them at all.
Oh, you know, and you can't expect this person to follow these bands everywhere they go. Again, if you only have 3 nights a week to perform, it's also not very feasible in terms of earning a living. So you have no choice, you've got to do something else, you know, and again, no disrespect to the musicians of today, but when you don't do it 6 nights a week or you don't do it on a full-time basis like that, your musicianship suffers, you know, because you're not getting the best, you're not fulfilling your full potential.
But is it the musicians that this should be directed to, or is this wouldn't this be about
I think it's
the management of the establishments?
For sure, the management plays a huge role in that.
Right.
You know, management will always tell you the same thing, oh, we don't have the budget, you know, and I've been hearing that song for the longest time, you know, but even like for the musicians as well, you know, because there's nothing like hard work, you know, if you're willing to work hard and up your game. And, you know, like even when I left Gypsy, I was with Broadsword, you know, I mean, we tried to inject some humor in our performances, you know, get dressed up and play silly songs, but funnily enough, that's what the crowd wanted. You know, we actually, like, there was, after Gypsy, there was a group called Broadsword. There was myself, Leonard Rezel,
yeah.
Ivor Lessler, and we had a drummer at the time.
All right, Ivor, here we go again. It's you.
And we had this guy called Zach. And one of the things that we did was, you know, there's this famous song, Red River Valley.
Yeah.
So we did it as an instrumental. And we actually saw somebody doing this, but we took it and we adapted it, made it our own.
Right.
So it starts off with 2 guys playing 1 guitar. right? So Leonard would be playing the guitar, Ivor would lean over and play the melody,
Right.
right? And then there would come a stage where I would come between them. I was playing the bass. So then I started playing the melody on Leonard's guitar while he was playing rhythm. Ivor would lean over me and play the bass.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
I know. Unfortunately, we don't have any videos of that, but it was fun. And strangely enough, people, the people who came to watch us decided to dub the item 3-in-1. So when we had customers come in and say, "Hey, can you play 3-in-1?" And we had no idea what they were talking about. And they, the 3-in-1, the three of you playing the guitar. And it sort of stuck. And the other thing that we used to try and do, even with Gypsy, was find songs that suit the band and introduce them gradually. I mean, you couldn't go up on stage and just play an alien set list. That wouldn't work. And as much as we wrote a lot of our own stuff at the time, we had to try and introduce it very gradually because, people in those days, they wanted to hear Queen, they wanted to hear...
covers.
Because also in those days, you didn't have the bands or artists visiting Singapore as frequently as what they do now.
Yeah.
Right? So, obviously, if they want to hear I Want to Break Free, you can understand that. And I suppose to a certain extent, it still exists. Maybe now the crowd might be a little bit more open to original material.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So coming back to your question, my sentiment actually goes not just to the management, but even to the relevant authorities. Like when it comes to busking and stuff, we're not vibrant enough. There's so much talent in Singapore.
Right.
Right. I mean, if anyone came to visit us and, you don't have that same vibrancy. You don't have, those statue artists. You don't have people busking on the streets. You don't have, and busking again is just like one guy playing a guitar with a computer.
Yeah, but they set up auditions for licensed buskers now. That's the thing.
Why?
I'm also scratching my head about that.
And who does the auditions?
NAC, I think.
No, I mean, if you're saying you're going for auditions, again, who is the one who's auditioning and what are you looking for? Because I think if you're a busker, if you're really bad, no one's going to give you any money.
Yeah.
You get a daytime job.
But then again, they have this issue about buskers collecting money. You see people who are not licensed, so they want to give out licenses, and then now they start auditioning.
Licensing is one thing. I think if you want to license buskers, I think that's fair enough. Right? Because you also want to be able to control where they should go because you also don't want people fighting over prime
space.
spots.
Yeah.
Okay. So fair enough. But I don't think that you need to audition or pass to get a license. I think it's two different things altogether. And again, people try to associate busking with breaking. I don't think so. I think you're providing a service. You walk past someone and they're playing a nice song. And you think, here you go.
I tell you what I've heard some people say, which I think is really sad, where busking is concerned. I've heard people say, begging. These guys are akin to beggars. The next thing I've heard is, this is the worst. I never asked to listen to your music. Why are you in my space? Why are you making noise? Even if the music is good. And it's really sad,
people
man.
like that to get a life,
No, really, yeah. I think Singaporeans are such sour people these days. Everything also they want to complain about.
I haven't heard anyone say that to me, but I'd be quite interested to.
But there are people like that.
I'm sure.
Really.
But again, you see, again, like I said, if somebody in a position to do something about it.
Yeah.
Right?
But these people in position of doing something about, they are the ones who say, let's audition buskers. So
that's my case.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Gypsy. I remember Gypsy when I was still in my young teens, man, watching you guys. and as I said, the reason why I have my tribute show is because of the influences, like Gingerbread, Tokyo Square, Speedway, K. Hamid and Hang Loose. You guys, Gypsy,
once upon a time.
Yeah.
Again, no disrespect to anyone, but once upon a time, you could stop people on the street and ask them to name 10 local bands and they could, like what you just did.
Yeah.
Today, I think people would struggle.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because we don't have the talent, it's because they don't have the same platforms, they don't have the same opportunities.
Right.
I mean, we were very lucky, as you said, Gypsy, because in those days, our local TV station and radio station were very supportive. You know, every night there was a variety program.
Yeah.
There was a variety program, you know, and we were lucky enough.
They would get you guys to come on to perform.
Yeah.
All these bands playing in clubs. Can we put up a picture? Have we put up a picture of Gypsy yet? There you go. And guess which one is Mel Ferdinands, man? Guess which one? Of course, the tall one in the hot pants.
The sexy one, you know?
Check out the locks, man. Oh my God.
So, yeah. And then again, you know, things like the New Year countdown.
Yeah.
And we used to have like open air concerts and festivals.
And we got something, you know, on video that Dixie uploaded. We found this. Can we just play a bit of that? What Mel has just said about, you know, coming on TV and how, you know, the TV used to get all our local bands to come on and play. The whole country would see them, you know.
Oh, gosh.
And I love this song, by the way. That's you in the center, right?
Again, you see, one of the things that set Gypsy apart from the rest of the bands, I suppose, was the fact that we used a lot of harmony.
Yeah.
You know, and it was quite natural. So we did Bee Gees, we did Crosby, Stills and Nash, stuff like that. You know.
Man, Joe looks so young there, man. And that's Dixie, right?
Yeah.
They even put your band name up as a backdrop.
You see, in those days, they actually featured bands, like, so you could have your own program for the night. You know?
Yeah.
So you could reach out to people at home, you know, because not everybody was a pub goer, club goer.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I saw something just this morning, Flybaits. It was Sherry Aljunit, a very, very young Sherry Aljunit, presenting the show. And Flybaits had the stage.
Yeah.
On TV.
We had things like that. And you see, in a way, and that was a huge shot in the arm for the local art scene, the local music scene, you know what I mean? Because people knew who the bands were, you know, and you didn't, like I said, you didn't have to go to the clubs and pubs to know them, you know, you sort of could reach out to them in their homes.
How did Gypsy start off?
Oh, interesting.
Because you said that you went for Talent Time together with Joe, and then Dixie went in together with Sam.
Yeah.
Then I suppose at the time Gypsy was not created yet.
No. They went, I mean, my brothers went through a series of different bands. You know, they had the Scarlet Fever, Turning Point.
Scarlet Fever.
Yeah. My sister was the original bass player in the band.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Bianco came along later because Bianco was a good mate of Dixie, and they worked in the shipyard together, you know?
Bianco was a guy with a beret, right?
That's right. Bianco is the one who's almost a brother.
Always remember him because of the beret, you know, that became a trademark.
Yeah. And so what happened was they decided to quit the shipyard scene, and they wanted to go full-time to music. So they started off as a duo, Dixie and Bianco, and then they joined up with other groups, and they had a female singer, and then they became the Gypsy Trio, actually. Right? And I was doing my national service. Don was then working in one of the departmental stores. And it just so happened that when I finished, in those days, they call it the ORD.
ROD.
No, ROD, that's right. ROD, run out date, right?
Yeah,
now
run out
it's
date.
operational.
No, it's ORD, yeah.
Run out date. So when I completed my national service, I was sort of just walked into the band, you know? So because they were already looking to expand.
Right.
And so Don left his job. So there was 4 of us plus the girl singer. But before we could get a contract, she decided she wanted to leave. So there was only the 4 of us stuck. Joe didn't join us till 2 years later, because when I came out from national service,
he went in
to go in. Yeah.
Right.
So the first couple of years, Gypsy performed as a 4-piece.
Yeah. Wow. And then how many years did Gypsy go on for? I
stayed with the band for 9 years. Then I left. Wanted to try my...
9 years is a long time.
1980 to 89. After I left, they continued for another few years.
So how long did Gypsy actually last as a band?
As a 4-piece, 5-piece, probably, I would say 15 years maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, but Gingerbread really went on like forever, man.
Yeah.
You know, these guys were, my goodness, when I heard their story,
You see, also like in like I say, if you spoke to Dixie, he'd have a lot more to add on because he started off much.
I love to have Dixie in the show, for sure. Let's talk about Mel and Joe.
Okay.
50 years on and still rocking. Now, the still rocking part, how true is that? Is it still rocking?
Oh, yeah. Well, we just did a show at the Esplanade in February. It was called Siblings in Song.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah,
so there were
yeah.
3 sets of siblings, right?
Perry Cole.
Perry and Patrick, I think. Isn't it?
Yep.
And then we had Ernesto and Greg.
Yeah.
And there was Joe and I, right? And so, everyone was expecting, oh, it's going to be cool, soft music, laid back and stuff. So Joe and I, since we were the last act, we said, we're going to rock it up. And so we did. But we played songs from the era, except that people forgot, so we did things like Satisfaction, when a Jumping Jack Flash, Really Got Me. And
Stones, yeah.
And what was fun was, like I said, seeing some of these, the seniors actually having fun, tapping their feet and getting, and what was really funny, one of my students, my younger students, right? His grandma and grandpa were in town.
Right.
So they came to watch the show with the parents and with him. And he said to me, my grandma and grandpa loved it. I said, okay. And I said, that's good enough,
The audience of the old days, they seem to be more, do not know how to enjoy themselves when it comes to music compared to audiences today, don't you think?
Well, you see, I did a show in Marsiling as well. I think, when would that be? Probably last year. Marsiling CC, right? And it was targeted for the seniors. It was one of those activities for the seniors, right? And basically, it was great to see them all getting up and dancing, and they probably regret it in the morning. But yeah,
recently, a couple of weeks ago, in our Tampines hub, they've been having concerts. I live in a great place, I gotta say, with the hub nearby, and they always have these free concerts with great musicians and friends of ours. Friends you and I both know. So I know that earlier, together with Stephen Francis and Jimmy Lee, and including Bong of another band, they'll all be playing. Yvette Atienza, they were all playing. And I went, of course, because I have so many friends up there, right? But when I look at the audience in general, I took a video and I went, oh boy, look at this Singapore audience, look, hot music, and look at this Singapore audience, numbnuts, man.
But again, I don't know, because like I said, maybe the older people don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just want to have fun, and
the young people look at us and they're laughing their heads off because we're partying.
But again, I think if you can get rid of that concern about what will people say and think, I think that's been too ingrained in society, especially with the younger ones. Where, if you have one beer, you're a drunk kind of thing, right? Again, so I said, just be yourself, have fun, enjoy yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean?
And you guys actually wrote an autobiography.
Yes, right.
I Play and Sing. You guys you also received, Mel and Joe, the Artistic Excellence Award from Compass.
That's right.
In 2012. And also, I got to say, it's all accolades. I'm going to say this all out because this is a tribute show. You guys performed for the inaugural Miri Country Music Festival in 2014, special guests.
We were representing Singapore.
Mel and Joe is like Batman and Robin, Lone Ranger and Tonto.
Yeah, we can argue about who's who.
What do you have to say? What do you have to say? Mel Ferdinands have to say about this duo of yours?
Well, I think, one of the things that both of us, Joe and myself, always feel very fortunate is that because we've been performing for so long, we've been performing together for so long, there's almost a telepathy, we can look at each other and know what song's next, or, like we can do a song that we haven't done for 20 years and, we'll know who's singing what and who's going to come in and who's going to do the harmony and stuff like that. So it becomes very easy.
Chemistry,
and but at the same time, because it looks so easy, everyone thinks it's easy, but they don't see how many years of hard work and togetherness has gone into it, right? And I think to a certain extent we both bounce off each other as well. Like sometimes if either one of us has got any reservations, and then the other one just says, come on, let's just get on and do it, Yeah.
So okay, the reason why I asked is because the last time in this studio I had Shirley and Adi. They're the younger lot of musos, okay, and they were actually going on, and I was just taking a seat back and just let them talk, Actually, how do we actually gel together? And then they started talking. I'm like, okay, thanks for giving me all the answers, man. And I just want to know for guys like Mel and Joe, 50 years. On the block, man, is not an easy thing to do.
It was really funny because I think it would have been in 2009, Christmas, and Joe and I were at my mom and dad's place just around Christmas. It wasn't Christmas itself, but thereabouts, end of the year. And I said to him, hey, do you know that next year is going to be our 40th anniversary? He said, yeah. And I said, let's do a concert. He says, yeah. I said, let's write a book. He says, are you mad? And I said, why? I said, don't worry. So, but you see, then we discussed it again. And I said to him, I said, look, I also don't want to have a situation where we write the book and it becomes a vanity project. I said, let's take a different approach, So what we did was, I got in touch with all our old friends and people who maybe had anecdotes they wanted to share and stuff, And so it became a very personal thing where people were sharing their stories about what they knew about Mel and Joe. And then we also had segments where Joe would say his bit, I would say my bit, and then there was a third person who was filling in the blanks and stuff, And it was a fun project. It was really, really a fun
So
project.
It wasn't just a book that's written by Mel and Joe and just about Mel and Joe, but you had the involvement of people who were around Mel and Joe.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's cool.
And, we had people like Mr. X, because we worked alongside him in the Rainbow as well.
Hey, Mr. X.
Right? And we had Brian Richmond as well. We had Sylvia McCulley. Yeah, and then some friends as well, like people we grew up with from church and school and stuff like that. So it was, and what was really, really nice was when they shared some of these anecdotes with us, we had no idea. Oh, is that what happened? And then, there was one couple who actually, the husband proposed to his wife when we were playing their favorite song. And I said, I had no idea. just as well. Otherwise, I might have said something cheeky and spoiled the moment.
Yeah, well, that's so cool, man. Yeah. I mean, these are things you find out way after the fact, right?
Yeah. And I think it makes things very special as well. You know what I mean? And it's always very heartening to feel that people care. That you have managed to touch their lives in one way or another. I think music, that's the speciality of that's what makes music special, the ability to touch people.
It's called good vibrations.
Yeah.
The SCF film unit. This is so freaking way off. Yeah. I mean, it's like, okay.
I'll give you a bit of background.
Yeah. How did you end up there?
I was headhunted to join the music and drama company.
Okay, MDC.
Right? MDC. And actually, I held off for the longest time because I heard so many horror stories about red tape and working with the...
Okay, he's saying it.
No, I was very honest about it. And the guy who was recruiting me, I give him credit, and we're still friends to this day, right? Colonel Tan Swee Kee.
Okay.
Because he believed in what I could bring. Right? And so... finally, I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Because in those days, you could sign a contract. So I signed a 6-year contract. I came on board and I enjoyed it. I had a very good team I was working with. We had a very good director and my fellow officers and stuff. And then what happened was they were going through some restructure. So just before my contract was supposed to end, they was restructuring. I thought, no. I joined as a creative director. I'm not going to become a logistician and look after stores and stuff like that.
Was that what was going to happen?
That was the plan.
The direction.
Plan route for my particular post.
Right? Oh boy!
Because I was production director, then it became manager production services. So then, of course, I got a phone call from the guy who was head of SCF Film Unit. At the time, he was a major, Jake Wong, and we're still friends again as well. That's, like you make friends for life. So the kind of people that you're dealing with, right? And so he called me up and says, look, there's an opening and I want you in it. I said, Jake, I don't really know much about film.
Mm-hmm.
He says, you know about music, you can learn about film. And he took a big risk and he brought me on board, and it was a very, very pleasurable 12
What
years.
did you do there?
The title that I had was senior producer,
Mm-hmm.
but probably director would have been more appropriate in the film jargon. So aside from going out and actually sort of filming stuff, and again, I have to say that the reason we have a SF film unit is obviously there are lots of things that need to be filmed which cannot be outsourced,
Right.
right? Obviously. So we were very privileged to be flown to many places to do to film our soldiers training and also participate in United Nations efforts. And I went to Afghanistan twice. I went to the Gulf.
No way. Holy shit. With the blue helmet.
No, we didn't even have a helmet because we were well protected. Let me put it this way.
Okay.
Because all Singaporeans, like in our case as well, we have to volunteer to go because
Okay.
they can't assign us because we're non-uniform.
So you volunteered and you went.
Well,
How was it, man?
it was very interesting, very, very, and I had an opportunity to speak to some Afghans as well, you know what I mean? And you think, well, whatever you read in the papers, everybody bleeds the same. Everyone's the same. You're going to have good and bad everywhere. Yeah, and I think this world would be a better place if we all took time to talk to each other
Mm-hmm.
and get to know each other, So that was interesting. I went to Tarin Kaut, Uruzgan province, and I also went to Kabul itself.
Wow.
And then I was in the Gulf of Aden as well.
Oh boy.
When we had the Navy supporting the
That's
counter-piracy.
Somalia.
Yeah, there.
Off the coast of Somalia.
Yeah, it was probably closer to where Yemen is.
Yeah, Yemen. Yeah.
So yeah,
The piracy, right?
yeah, the Singapore Navy was supporting the counter-piracy efforts.
Yeah.
Worldwide. So we sailed with them for a spell to film our guys in action and all. So, and of course, we also had the opportunity to travel to all our overseas camps, where our
Well, it's so fun, man.
training goes on. Yeah, it was. I mean, you had to keep a very positive, because it wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
And you go to places which you won't find in the Lonely Planet,
Yeah.
right? But it was fun, and I always enjoyed it. And I had a great bunch of people I worked with as well. So
How long were you there?
12 years.
That's a hell of a long time.
12 years.
And then after that, and why did you leave? It was such a great
Again, you see,
spot to be.
all these organizations, I suppose, feel that they need to go through
Restructuring.
and reorganizing and repurposing and whatever.
Basically, they're telling you, go get fucked.
Whatever really they want to do, So anyway, I didn't like the direction that the company seemed to be heading.
Right.
And so I had an opportunity to cross over and become the editor of a magazine.
Okay.
So my last 5 years, I was the editor of the Army News
Army
magazine.
News Magazine. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can, in a way I can say the 22 years I spent in service was interesting because I did event planning to a certain extent with the music and drama company, putting shows together and stuff. 12 years of film production. And I also used to run video production courses as well. Yeah, teach some of the units how to make their own movies and stuff.
Is there anything Mel Ferdinands cannot do?
Well, I try and try. Yeah.
Can you cook?
Yes, I can.
Fuck.
I do pretty mean prawn curry, if you ask my wife. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Derek Shelley, man.
Oh.
From producing film to now acting on Kid on MediaCorp 5.
Okay, the interesting thing about that as well, it was a very happy accident. Because what happened was I got a cold message, and this was before Messenger. I think they still had Facebook message, right? And I got this message saying, hey, I'm doing a production and I've got a role that I think would suit you. Would you be interested? And because, as I said, I was doing training with the film unit and stuff, right? So I just thought it was some kid from the junior college of poly, because I do get messages like that, whether you can help myself. So I say, well, let me know the details. I'll see if I can help, I'll see what I can do. So now upon reflection, I think they must have thought such an arrogant bugger, because I see what I can do to help you kind of thing. So, and I didn't hear anymore, and to be honest, I forgot as well. Then maybe a couple of weeks later, I was going through the mail and I saw this. I said, hey, I didn't hear from you. So I suppose you found someone. So I said, all the best with your production. Good luck, right? And almost straight away, I got a reply. I said, I'm so sorry I didn't get in touch with you. I had an accident. I broke my leg.
Oh.
At which stage, we didn't talk about the production anymore. I said, oh my God, what happened? Are you okay? Take care. I hope you recover soon, blah, 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 blah. He writes back to me, says, give me your email address, your official email address, so I get my colleague to write to you. I thought, okay, you got a colleague to write to me, fine. And get this email, and it's got the MediaCorp heading. And then I said, someone's really going through a lot of effort to prank me. I said, why would somebody want to do that, right? So they said, oh, then they send me everything, and it looked very bona fide. But I was still like, why is somebody asking me to act? Because, it's like not that I wrote in and said, I'm interested or whatever have you, right? So they even called me down to do a read, send me a couple of scripts. And I went down. I was still convinced the moment I stepped out of the taxi, someone's going to jump on and say, gotcha, It didn't happen. So I met up with one of the directors. They brought me up to one of the meeting rooms and said, okay, they asked me to do the read. So I did. Yeah, and I was still quite bemused because I had no idea how this came about, right? So I read it out, and then they said, okay, now can you act it out so that we can film? And I looked around, I said, there's no cameras here. They were filming it on the handphone. Yeah, so I thought, okay. So finally, when they did write back to me and say, congratulations, you got the role and stuff, I was, okay, I better watch the show because I don't know what's happening otherwise. So I went on MeWatch and started catching up. And then finally, of course, afterwards I asked, I said, how did you guys hear about me? And so what had happened was apparently they were looking for someone to play this role, and they were trying different places because it had to be a certain demographic and a certain age group.
Right.
And then I realized that Bridget, who played my second wife, Celia, in the show, she was my Facebook friend. She said, hey, why don't you try him? He's a musician. Maybe he can act as well. And I thought, thank you, Celia. And it was fun. I mean, I ended up becoming one of the main cast of characters as well.
Yeah.
And it was funny as well because my very first shoot was me lying in bed, being in a coma.
Yeah.
And guess what? I fell asleep. Even before they started rolling the camera.
Well, I agree. I mean, my years, I used to act for TCS for major roles. And they put me through 2 months of training with this crazy lady from America who trained apparently the Cheers cast. Kirstie Alley, the late Kirstie Alley and Ted Danson. It was real fun, man. After that, got a couple of TV shows and all that and major roles. It's fun doing it. But it was really funny. I say, Mel's on TV.
And I tell you what was really funny. My character was such a grumpy old fart. Right?
Yeah, very grumpy old fart.
And people who knew me were like, wow, you can really act because that's not you. You know what I mean? So I said that was the challenge. And I think I used to get on the director's nerves because every time they said cut, I'll be joking and I'll be, laughing and stuff. Yeah. And say, don't distract everyone. You have to stay in the mood. I said, no, if I stay in the mood, I'm going to be bloody miserable,
Yeah.
So that was how I cope with it. None of this method acting stuff, not that I'm knocking it, but it didn't work for me,
Yeah, I know what you mean. We all have our little quirks in order for us to work better. But anyway, I just have a few more questions to ask, and then we have to wrap up the show. What's your opinion? Your opinion on the current music scene in Singapore, both in our live and recording artists? Do you think they're struggling? Or they're thriving? Can strive? Should strive? I think
first of all, the advent of social media has helped considerably in terms of putting out your music. It's a completely different ballgame because you gotta sort of finance yourself, promote yourself. Occasionally, if you get lucky, and luck has got a lot to do with it as well. Obviously, if your music happens to coincide with somebody's algorithm, and it turns up on your Spotify feed or on your IG feed or whatever, that generates. So again, like I said, a lot depends on luck. Anyone can be a recording artist now to a certain extent. So whether it has that same clout, I don't know.
But Mel, in recent times, based on what you said about social media, I've heard from John Class when I asked him this question about Taylor Swift, using her as an example, right? I mean, she can now make countries' economies grow, amazing. But when she just recently performed, not after Singapore, she performed in the UK, there was an article and this guy who wrote it is basically one of your, in the UK, one of your reviewers, right? Pop reviewers and all that. And he said, she's okay, she's good. But it's ridiculous because people buy into her more so because of her social media branding. It's more a brand than it is about the talent. And well, in some respect, John said the same thing. She didn't diss her about the talent, but he did say she's become this brand. And now if you look online, there are AIs available where you can sound 100% amazing.
That's the danger.
By just dropping your file in it.
That's the danger, you see. So, So coming back to what I said, anyone can be a recording artist, but the challenge would be a recording artist who performs live. Yes. You can only bluff so much.
But you can have auto-tune, man, as you're singing.
But even then, even like recently, there was a huge outcry because somebody actually did a recording of the Eagles.
Right.
And gave it to this guy to analyze. And he was very, he's not into diss anybody or whatever, but he has all the tools and he played 2 separate recordings and it was identical. And he said, the only way this could happen is if you're using a backing track.
Okay.
Right. And strangely enough, Don Henley is very famous for suing people for saying the kept quiet. So again, the question is, if I'm going to be paying money to watch a show, I want to watch you sing. I don't want to listen to you mime to a track. You know what I mean?
Lip syncing.
Or lip sync or even to a certain extent auto-tune. Because after a while you can tell.
You can tell,
it's too perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So I think if coming back to Singapore, I think it could be better. Right? I think it could be better. I think we do need to have more platforms for the local bands and artists. I think TV could do a lot more. I think they could bring back some of those entertainment programs.
Yeah.
Because I think that would really be a shot in the arm for music here.
Yeah.
Right. Even radio for that matter. We used to have radio. We used to host radio programs, like 1 hour of music stuff, and I don't see why it can't be done anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And in terms of recording, well, you see, I think to a certain extent, what's also happened, even in the West and stuff like that, is record companies were making tremendous amounts of money on the artists. And because of COVID, when they couldn't perform anymore, and all of a sudden they were depending on their streaming and they realized they were being screwed. It's been everyone rethink.
Yeah, COVID has done a lot. A lot of people have been saying this to me as well, musos.
Yeah.
How much the landscape has changed because of COVID. Okay, just one last thing before we say goodbye and before we sing that song. If you could give advice to all musos, young, old, experienced, inexperienced, what would that be?
Practice, practice, practice. And never lose sight of what you want for yourself. If you have a dream, be prepared to pursue it. If you want to play a song, work harder so you can play a song. There's no such thing as you can't. And another thing is, and I shared this with a bunch of school kids that I was recently having a seminar with, because they were all like, oh, give us the results, because, they take everything as a test.
Right.
Or as a competition, right?
Yeah.
And I said, if you want to compete with someone, compete with yourself so that you can be better today than you were yesterday, and then you can aspire to be better tomorrow than you are today.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Okay. Thank you so very much. I've had Mel Ferdinands with me. I mean, this guy is really like royalty in the Singapore music scene. I can tell you that much, man. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with me today, Mel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we're going to sing a song without any disrespect to Joe. The song is something that you guys also use, sing together quite often. But without any disrespect to him, after our song, we will be playing that same song, part of it, with Joe in it. So Joe, please, okay, one up to you for sure. I mean, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. I'm not a muso. And you've been watching the Chris Hansen Conversation. Thank you for spending time with us. We'll see you again soon. Stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Cheers. There's a light, certain kind of light that never shone on me. And I want my life to be lived with you, lived with you.
There's a way, everybody say, to do each and every little thing. But what good does it bring if I ain't got you? Ain't got you, baby. You don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like
To love somebody,
love somebody,
love somebody,
to love somebody
the way I love you.
All right. In my brain, I see your face again. I know my frame of mind. You ain't got to be so blind, and I'm blind, so very blind.
I'm a man, can't you see what I am? And I live and breathe for you. But what good does it do if I ain't got you?
Ain't got you,
Ain't got you.
baby. You don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody,
Love somebody
the way I love you.
Oh, baby,
You don't know what it's like. Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody,
somebody,
to love somebody
somebody.
the way I love you.
Oh, baby,
You don't know what it's like.
you don't know.
Baby, you don't know what it's like to love somebody, to love somebody the way I love you. All right, Mr. Mel Ferdinands, everyone. Out of respect for Joe, there's a snippet of you guys that I took of that song at the Esplanade
Oh,
that's going to come in right after this one.
all right, no.
Yeah.
In my dream, I see your face again. And know my frame of mind.